everyone, and welcome back to Bikinis After Babies. I'm so excited to bring to you another fantastic episode. Of course, I am Mandy Rashawn, joined by your other beautiful blonde host over here.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. It's actually Memorial Day here today, so I hope you're all having a safe and fun holiday. And I'm really excited about today's episode. We have a very special guest with us today. Today we are joined by Fallon Wainwright. She is a wife and a mother of two girls, ages 14 and 5. Fallon is a clinical researcher who began competing in 2020, earning her pro card at Masters Nationals in 2022. Fallon took home first place at her pro debut that same year, and this year she already has top three pro placings, including first place at the Girl Power Pro in April of this year. We are so excited to have her on the show today. Welcome to Bikinis After Babies, Fallon Wainwright.
Welcome.
Yay.
Thank you. If
we had a
guys.
producer, we would
like
have
a
like
little
applause. Yeah, we're so excited to have you on today, and you are fresh off of the Clash this past weekend, where you placed third. Is that correct?
Third in Masters. Yep.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. And you're 6 days out
fun.
from Miami, right?
I am. Yep.
Yeah.
Miami will be Saturday.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, we're really excited to see you continue to crush it. And so I kind of like to start each episode with having you just kind of talk a little bit about how you got started on your journey competing.
Sure. So I had a girlfriend, Yvonne, who competed in 2019, and I was fresh out of having my little one, Veda. And I went up to Charleston to support her at her first show, and I immediately fell in love with it. I thought, okay, this is the stage. I'm pretty sure I can do this. I love competing. I love the glitz and glam. And Yvonne took me under her belt. She kind of coached me through my first year in 2020. As everybody knows, 2020 was a super, super tough year. Don't know why I chose that year, but I did. That's when the gyms closed. That's when COVID came around. And my first show was the Dexter Jackson here in Jacksonville, which was, I think it was June at the time. And the gyms closed, I think, in March. So all my training was done at home from March until show day with 40-pound dumbbell weights. That's it. I was doing leg extensions off my couch. I was getting reams of paper and using them as a deadlift platform. It was insane, but my first show,
real.
yeah. I was committed. I was all in. It was do it or what else am I going to do? But it was great. Dexter Jackson was so much fun. It was a great first show. I did novice, and I took home second in novice, or true novice, first in novice, and I think that was it. So that was 2020, and I went on to do a national show in Charleston, and I just wasn't ready for it. But it was still a lot of fun, a lot of growing to do. My following year, what was that, 2021, is when I did get my pro card at the Masters National. That was a hike. I felt like I was constantly going, improving, and it was great. Masters National, my pro card, it was phenomenal. I mean, the words were speechless when you get that pro win.
It was really amazing.
Someday. So prior to learning about competing and whatnot, were you always an athlete? Like, do you have an athletic background?
I do. I cheered from 4th grade into my high school years. Again, it's something about that stage, something about just showing off what I enjoy, what I love. I was a flyer as a cheerleader, a tumbler, and it just makes my heart happy to be up there. Just driven, focused. Cheering was, top level back then when you're doing the competition squads, and it changes in high school because it's a different game out there. What was it? Middle school and elementary school. It's just some pep rally fun and Pop Warner. But yes, I've always been athletics, swim team, and cheerleading were my two sports.
So that's awesome. I'm surprised that you didn't think about competing, beforehand. I'm sure
Sooner.
yeah, but that's just, it's so interesting how like our journeys take us to,
I
thinking about
decided to have a
competing.
baby instead.
Yeah.
I wanted a baby by 25, and I was damn
Adamant.
determined to get one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's like, what we do often see, in the fitness industry, when they always talk about each girl kind of crosses the stage and it's, oh, she's a nurse. Oh, she's a personal trainer. Oh, she's a nurse. You kind of get those like commonalities, and you work in clinical research, which is
Yeah.
a bit different from the fitness industry. So does it feel like, you've got sort of two hats that you're wearing with your professional career and then your career as a professional
Oh,
athlete?
for sure.
Yeah.
I think I have like 7 hats, but yeah. You do find a lot of the competitors are nurses or some kind of health background. And I do have that health background with clinical research, but it's not at the level of the RNs or the MAs that you do see a lot of the girls competing. Totally new field for me. Don't know anything about nutrition prior to this. I'd be in the gym, but I didn't know what I was doing. It's just throwing around some weights to be able to eat pizza and burgers and beers in your 20s.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely different. Clinical research, still a healthcare field, but more on like a drug study side.
So you did your first show like pretty soon after the birth of your second child. So, and also I think it's unique that you prepared for your first competition in such different, maybe that was like an advantage because you didn't have anything to
was.
compare it to. Like the rest of us were like, well, I cannot train without, my hip thrusts and all the things that I typically use. So what was that like, getting sort of not only back in shape after a baby, but getting in show shape after a baby?
It was different, and I honestly, looking back, didn't know really what I was getting ready for. Meaning, so I did start competing literally right after Veda, who's the youngest, turned 1. And I just did what Yvonne told me to do. Hey, do this when you can at home. And I was macro based at the time, so I was still eating what I wanted, just within that macro friendly. Things have definitely changed since then, but the advantage was a lot of people didn't think to work out at home, or they had a true home gym, or they had a hookup where some of the gyms were on the sly still open. But it was definitely didn't really have any expectations, and it was honestly just a bucket list item at the time. And that bucket list is it's no longer. It's a permanent thing in my life is competing and the whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
I see that a lot because I expedite the shows here in the Midwest, so I travel all around, and all the time at athlete meets we will meet people that have it as a bucket list. It's like just something they want to check off, and many times after they step on stage and they step off stage, they're like, this is
great.
this is
I'm
not
hooked.
a bucket list.
Yeah.
How do I grow
How to-
or get
yeah.
bigger? Yeah, how do I do this again? It's like, here's our next show.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you did a lot of shows in between that very first show and then earning your pro card. And I noticed there was a hair color change in there as
Yep.
well. So
Yep.
can you
Yep.
tell me a little bit about that, and then also like the feedback that you were working with to go from an amateur to pro?
So the hair color, even in my younger years, I was a blonde with like hot pink underneath. I just get in these little moods when it's time to go darker, and it's usually I go darker in the summer, and then I'll blonde it up in the winter. There wasn't anything in particular this time, but I was just like, oh, I'm gonna give my husband a new wife today, and he came home and thought there was a stranger in our kitchen cooking him dinner. Yeah.
That's so
I like to keep
funny.
him on his toes.
Jillian and
Same.
I were just talking about that. As you get leaner for your shows, it's like we like transform into different
do.
people
Oh,
for
yeah.
our husbands.
We do.
It's like
50
they don't
Shades
know.
of Jillian.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mind and body.
Yeah.
It's so true.
So there wasn't any feedback as for the hair. It was just something that I did. My coach at the time didn't even know I was doing it. And I did a check-in photo and he was like, oh, where'd this come from? You didn't want to communicate this with me. But the brown looks really, really good on stage for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, your photos look amazing.
It looks more, my word for myself is more elegant on stage. My blonde was very hard for me. I think looking back at my photos, it still looked great, but there's a different look, and I like the brown on stage.
Yeah, it really brings out your features. It just like it's like you elevated like from 2021 to 22. You can just see, there's probably a lot of mindset shifts and a
For
lot
sure.
more training and more preparedness as well. But just like that was like, you definitely like found your look. Because some people will play with different looks, different suit colors, trying to figure it out. And of course, we see so many brunettes on stage. So, I
Lately,
wasn't.
yeah, the last 2 years.
Yeah. So
I've always had brown hair.
have you?
I'm like, well, no, for the stage, yeah. But
Yeah.
I went blonde one time.
I was like
Yeah.
blonde last year, and it was just like I always tell people like you've got to be like bright red, dark brown, platinum blonde. Like the in betweens, just sort
Doesn't
of like
work.
with the lights. I had purple hair on stage one time. Judges hated that. That was a really bad idea. That was a really bad idea.
Yeah.
I gave it a go. I was like, it'll be fine. It was not fine. So
I tried a suit change last year. I tried to, you get an itch, you get a bug, you want to change it.
Yeah.
And I went for this purple, and it was okay, but the blue is mine. The blue, the
Yeah.
royal blue is just unmatched.
works.
Yeah.
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 I'm always curious about that for the pros. Like I know, once you get a color, you might have like 4 or 5 different sort of in that color family. Do you stick to like one particular suit stone, everything, or do you have different ones in that color family?
Nope. Just the one.
Yeah.
I had
that's
the
awesome.
blue my very, very first year, and I wore her. I wore her for the 2 years, and I bought her used. So she started falling apart here and there, and I sent her back to CJ, and CJ just made me a whole new blue suit. Same palette, brighter stone, but it's it. I love
Once
it.
you find your color. And then I think too, like if you're showing up repeatedly and you're changing too many things, like don't you think that can be a disadvantage? It's like, well,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. So that summer you turned 2020 or turned pro, that was 2022. You did 2 national shows and then you finally got that win. And then
Yeah.
did you decide right away to just jump into a pro show, or what was your strategy after that?
I did. Daytona's right down the road from me, 30, 40-minute drive. And my Team Flawless Physique, it's kind of one of their family shows where we have a lot of people go to. And they were all going, and I thought I can either be a show mama and show up and just help, or I can do both. And that was also the year that hurricane came through. Last year, we had a terrible hurricane come through Daytona, flooded the streets, things were closed. The show still went on, but there's a lot of people that couldn't make it because flights were canceled. But Mike didn't cancel this show, so we showed up, and the hotel didn't have AC. The rooms floors were still wet from all the water coming in. It was a crazy experience, but I jumped in it and thought, why the hell not? And that was my first pro. It was 35 and up pro win.
That's awesome.
It was definitely a different experience. I mean, we're sweating, no AC in there. It was crazy.
It's so nice to kind of hear those stories though, because you have so many amateurs that with like if they have like some obstacles, whether it's in their control or not, it's like, oh, I need to stop prepping right now.
It's devastating.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you're always going to have obstacles, whether you can control them or not. You're going to be faced with adversity. It's how do you overcome that adversity to get to the goal,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And
just roll with
it's
it.
nice to be able to hear that, like, exactly.
We did.
You did. Yeah.
My family came down the following day. There were fans being blown into the hotel rooms to try to dry the floors. Sleeping with the doors open to get some kind of breeze because there wasn't AC. Going through flooded streets. It was an experience, but I do it again. It was still fun.
Yeah, it's like part of the story, right? Of just
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
this shit went down, but I still,
I was
had
still
fun.
there.
And showed up and showed out. So kind of shifting gears a little bit and maybe kind of tagging on with that last topic of kind of talking about adversity and things that happen.
Yeah.
2023, you revealed was sort of just not your best year. You had some things that kind of went on in your personal life that just made things a little bit difficult for your journey. So can you share a little bit about what that year was like for you?
Yeah, so official pro debut, minus that Daytona Pro 2023, started off a little rough for my family and I. I was away out of the country celebrating the husband's birthday, and I got some terrible news that my father had passed away unexpectedly. Not being home and something like that happening, especially when I say especially, but your father passes away, yes or yes, it's terrible. I remember just not being able to breathe at one point. The husband was trying to comfort me, but literally could not catch my breath to speak. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't there. You can't just go to the hospital. I'm in another country. Thankfully, I have a really, really good support system. I have friends that I can call and, make sure things are still running okay until I get back. But that was in May, and I think my first show was slated for June, and I knew that I needed to stay focused in something. But I definitely can look back and know that last year's showings there was something off. There was just something that I wasn't bringing, and I don't know if it was a confidence or just a lackluster, but I knew if I was going to the gym and keeping my mind busy, like that was super helpful at the time. But having to make arrangements because my mom wasn't well and still isn't well is also really, really difficult for a daughter to do for her father. Especially with the girls as well. My oldest was very, very close. We called him Pop-Up. Very close with Pop-Up. And coming home from out of town, just news like that is devastating. I couldn't even fathom the words. Just speaking it out loud. I couldn't like tell her. And
I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Had to be such a shock, and it's just the worst phone call you can ever expect. And
it wasn't real. It truly wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think either way, if you had decided to put things on pause, everybody would have understood. But I think
for sure,
for a lot of people, just needing that place of, something, just a bit of me that is a constant, even if it's not going to be how other preps are, and it isn't going to be enough to, bring my best physique yet, you still showed up. That shows like a lot of strength. And, I think that shows a lot of character and a lot of courage. And you phenomenal at all of those shows, so it's not as if you showed up and you were a hot mess, and but inside I can imagine just dealing with all of that, and that's stuff that takes time, like to lose anybody. It's not quick, so I think that it just that
as cliche really as it sounds, I know he wouldn't just want me just sitting around. It gave me purpose to I'm a mom, yes, I'm a wife, but for myself it gave me purpose. Okay, get your ass up, go bust out that leg day, come home and then like take your minute, go cry in the shower, or, need a little extra cuddle time. But I knew not doing it wasn't going to benefit me in the long run. So I definitely made sure to self-care in that way, basically.
Yeah. And to show your girls too, like, hey, this is how I'm coping.
Life doesn't stop.
Right. Yeah.
For us, it just, you have to keep pushing and going, and it definitely was shitty.
It's one of the hardest things about losing someone so close to you is, I think, like the realization. I was really close with my mother, and I lost her a long time ago, and realizing the world doesn't stop. Like
you feel guilty. You feel like
Yeah.
remorseful that you're feeling
you-
that way.
And you have to keep going. My son was 3 at the time, and it's like he just lost his grandma, and but it keeps going. You got to keep waking up.
Yeah.
You got to keep,
Feeding
working.
yourself.
You
And
do.
yeah.
Yeah. And you look back and you're like, just like you said, they're looking down on you and on us and seeing like they're proud, we didn't throw in the towel. You didn't, you're there for your girls. You showed them, even through something so hard, that you showed up and
Yeah.
you accomplished your goals.
Yep. That's what I'm hopeful they see.
Yeah,
They do.
absolutely.
Maybe not today, but down the road. Down the road.
Wow, that's incredible that you pushed through, and then coming back this year, did you kind of go into 2024 with, renewed purpose and like a new set of goals?
I did come in with some new goals. I came in with a different space, not so heavy. I felt a little heavy looking back last year, that just not as, we'll say, grounded, kind of aloof, a little lost in my own head. But I came back lighter and with a little more oomph, I guess I could say. And my goal was to go to Masters Olympia. Sadly, they're planning on doing it every other year. And last year they did it, so they won't be having a Masters Olympia. But that's okay. I'll do it next year.
Next year.
2025. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it
So
definitely shows
that's my
like in your
goal.
stage presentation, like I can see, from, of course we're so fortunate. We have Gilco as these beautiful videos
God.
of everybody,
So
we
great.
never had this years ago. I always tell people we're so
The
lucky
live
to have it.
streams.
Oh, the live streams. You can just watch it. It's incredible, and like when Mandy did the Clash in May or in March, I was screen recording all of her routines so that we could like, sort of like reverse engineer it and like look at everything. We're just so lucky to have these resources.
It's so
but
helpful.
to see, your
is.
favorite athletes, up on stage, and, I've followed so many people's journeys and to see their evolution, but you can definitely see in someone's stage presentation when they are like truly in a good spot.
Enjoying
They're
it in a good
enjoying
spot.
it. Yeah. Do you think that's made a difference in how you show up on stage? Just, that persona, that energy?
For sure. I'm very music, like I will dance and dance and dance. My DJ at Clash he's fire. He's been really, really good. And music gives me a little more pep in my step.
Yeah.
I think I'll be the only one dancing back there sometimes. And when you just feel good, it definitely shows on stage. And that's how I've been feeling these last shows. It's just really, really good. Lots and lots of food, which is also helpful. I eat like a grown man.
That's awesome.
That is helpful, though. That is
Yeah.
very helpful.
I get a good bit of water now. My first 2 years, I felt a little depleted, wasn't getting a lot of water. But now between food and water, I don't get those tension headaches. I'm not hungry. So that also helps.
Yeah. Have you always been like that? Like, have you always been able to sort of like eat a lot on your preps, or is that kind of new, or maybe as you evolved as an athlete?
As I evolved, I've never been without food, especially in prep. But my first couple years as my coach was learning my body and trying to figure out where food was going. It was nowhere near as much as I'm getting now. My day before show and show day, I'm consuming so much food. I think this last prep, I was a good bit into like 28 to 3,200 calories for the week. It was
That's
great.
A lot. That's
It's
awesome.
delicious. Yeah. I
It
got
took
up.
my brain a minute to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think like as you mature in the sport, like, and in your body, because I tell people all the time, like as I've gotten older, like I eat way more now than I did when I was in my 20s, just because you have more muscle and also more experience. Do you think that's true for you as well? Like just as you've
yeah.
gotten, more experience as an athlete?
Absolutely. And I think with the muscle maturity and growth there, my body needs it. My
Yeah.
body doesn't, it's like, oh, this just isn't enough food. You need so much more to fuel these massive muscles I now have.
Yeah. But I feel like we're learning that as we get older and we get these
Hmm.
masters categories and there's so many more masters competitors. Because I've learned that personally too myself. You know, I look back when I first started competing in my 20s and I didn't eat nowhere near
Near
what
as
I eat
much.
now.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was for me personally, it was an accidental find. Like my coach is fantastic and I just did a refeed meal and we're like, oh, we're having great progress with this one
Hmm.
refeed. What if we do it again and again? And now I've done that, you know, but like it's like you said, it's like, okay, well, you put more size on, you know,
Hmm.
we're older, our hormones are different. Maybe it's not like when we were in our 20s. Maybe we don't need to be down to 1100 calories, 900, but
You don't
everybody's
know
different.
then.
You
Yeah.
don't know. But like as we kind of get older and we experiment with food a little bit more and,
Hmm.
you know, growing lean muscle tissue, it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting to learn that.
And as you mentioned, everybody's body's different too.
Mm-hmm.
Backstage this last show, um, the two girls before me, between prejudging and finals, they came back and they were like, all I had was rice. And I was like, I had a burger and fries and I feel and still look great. So it just depends on how our metabolisms are like fired at that moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you say then, like, um, having experience and being a pro, like, do you feel like your relationship with your coach is like very collaborative when it comes to your prep and your body and how you're feeling and
Oh
such?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he, I can almost know now what he's planning on doing. Um, my coach is Steve with Flawless Physique, so he's been in the business. I think actually I made mention, Jillian, that I was
Yeah.
doing a podcast with you guys, and he's like, I know her. She knows
Yeah. He's
us.
awesome. Yep.
Um, but yeah, working with him now for the 3.5 years, he knows my body like clockwork. He knows my body before I check in, where my food is, what my weight is. Um, and I mean, you tell him everything, from when your last period was, or when you've had a bowel movement, or what's going on in your life, your stressors, and it just the relationship works really well. And he's able to dial me in, um, overfeed me to where I'm so stuffed, but I still wake up and I'm lighter. I don't know the science. I don't know how it happens, but he does. So hats off.
That's great. That's great when you find that fit and someone who
Yeah.
understands you and, and
Hmm.
also that respects your opinion too, because I do hear so many athletes that are just like, oh, they don't want to say anything and they have a feeling, but they just can't speak up. So that's, it's great to have that sort of collaborative relationship.
Yeah.
That's good. So what is the feedback that you're working with from your shows this season?
So of course, muscle density in the glutes, it's always going to be there, I think, until they explode out of my butt. Um,
When do they not say that? They're always
I
saying
mean,
upper
upper
glute to
glute, upper
everybody
glute,
and
upper glute.
everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Um, let's see.
Because
This
conditioning,
time,
like you got it. Like your conditioning is
conditioning,
always good.
conditioning, I feel like I wish my core could be a little. I know I'm not like gloat. This is no gloat or anything, but I wish my core could be softer.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard you say that. Hmm.
it's so tight all the time, and I know they're looking for this like softer belly, and I don't know how to get that. He can feed me and feed me and feed me, and it's just hey, ab, and I'm like, go away. I don't want you there. Um, but it's good though. Like I'm not complaining too much. But yeah.
It's like it's a good problem to have, just not a good one to have for at this stage.
Right.
Like,
And
but in like normalcy,
normal
it's
life, my
yeah,
40-year-old self, I still have abs.
yeah.
Yeah.
This show, Mo gave me feedback. She said she wishes I would stand a little taller. And she said it looked like I was a little scrunched in my abdomen area, and I was pushing to my glute, which probably was the case because you tell me you want more glute, I'm gonna put everything I can over there. And then she said if she could be really, really picky, a tad more conditioning in that glute hamstring tie-in, which is always kind of my problem child. So we're working on that.
And that like tiny little bit can be just what it takes to tip over into that, first place spot. So 'cause everybody's so good at that
Everybody,
level.
it's just like these little fine little details that you look and you're like, yeah, I got it. Oh, actually, it's not there. It's not there.
Do you think that there was like a difference in the, I don't want to say standards, but I've had people talk about this before about the way you need to look to get a pro card and then the way you need to look as a pro. Do you think they're different? Because I think in a lot of ways they are. I feel like on the national stage, everybody is, I feel like we're smaller. I feel the conditioning is like over the top. And then it's different because, of course, at the pro level, we're not measured by height anymore. Now, at least we've got the different age categories, but, we've got 5-foot girls mixed in with 6-foot girls, So what do you think the difference is?
Well, looking back, when you guys asked me to do this podcast, I look back at my pro win, and I look at myself, and I look nothing like that woman anymore on stage. The maturity, the muscle maturity, the muscle density, like you said, we'll say at that time over conditioned, but it still looked phenomenal on stage. Obviously enough for the judges to go, all right, she's getting her pro card. But if I look back at that right now, I wasn't, to me, that's not pro ready. That's not a pro girl. Thankfully, they gave it to me. But there's definitely a difference with that pro card win and the pro girls. Those ladies that come off a pro win and take a stage 4 pro and then top call outs in pro. I don't even know how they do that. That's incredible. But the thickness of the pros, that density, and they're not over conditioned. They've found that perfect balance of just enough cardio and keeping the glutes with that softer belly in the pros is, yes, majorly different.
It's interesting. What do you feel like is the difference then competing as in the Masters Pro versus the Open Pro?
The difference, the competing against the 20-year-olds in Open and 30-year-olds, you can definitely tell, like, for me, that they're able to, I don't know, push harder. They're able to dedicate more. I don't know if they have sponsorships and they're able to just put more into it because they don't necessarily have a husband and children and a career outside of competing because they are younger and maybe they haven't reached that next step of life to where they're not having to cook dinner every night for their kids. Oh, and meal prep for themselves and, take their kids to middle school. Oh, and high school and school. Maybe there's just a different dedication, which that's why there's Open for them. And we do now have our Masters because it is a different playing field. It's hard for me to compete in that Open class with the early 30-year-olds this is their profession. This is what they're doing for a living. And that's great because they're making bank too. And that's their job.
I think you said that very, very well because, I have quite a few friends here in Kansas City, younger girls that I go to the gym after I drop my son off at school. I drop him off at school. I go to the gym Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock. So some of the girls there that they don't have kids, they're young. They're in their 22, 23. I'm 35. And it is completely different responsibilities and a whole different lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Than what I live. And it's funny, we crack a bunch of jokes at it, but thinking of it like that, it's not that they take it more serious. It's not that they have more dedication or heart in it. It's just a prioritization. It's
the responsibility.
It's just a mental load too, because they don't have the mental load of my kids cheer, soccer, dinner, groceries, work, homework,
Shoes,
laundry,
clothes,
laundry.
Yeah.
Freaking laundry.
Laundry.
Do you have laundry?
Oh my God.
We have a cheer soccer thingy. Oh, do you have clothes? Do you have the right uniforms? Did we do laundry? Oh, do you have food? Do I have my food?
Right.
Do I have enough food if for something happens to one of my meals? And it just keeps going and going. Whereas like you look at, you know, somebody in their younger 20s or in their 20s and don't have that. It's like, oh, I got to go to work.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Which is cool. You got
Yeah.
it.
It is.
But like you, I get up before my house wakes up. I get up at 5
We
o'clock.
all do.
I'm home before my girls leave for school. So I feel responsible that I need to, I want to say goodbye to them. I want to kiss them goodbye and have a good day for school. Those girls that don't have children, they can sleep in, get their food in, go back to bed, then get up and go to the gym. Again, cool. But that's not my life.
No, I mean,
Well, and then we also
recovery is
deal
like.
with the.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say we also deal with the mom guilt too, and that's why we all
yeah.
get up at 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Or we stay up really late, or like we fit all this stuff because of the mom guilt. We feel of like, oh, we slightly prioritize ourselves just a little bit, and we feel
Yeah.
like shit for doing
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Everyone we talk to though is the same. Like, you know, there's this sort of this perception of like, you know, it's this selfish sport, and it's really it's not, because what we really do is we do everything that we need to do before everybody gets up, or while everybody's off at school, or
And
while
still
everyone
handle
else is
shit.
taken care of. Yeah, and then go about our day, which I think for me, like, my brain never stops anyways. So if I didn't have, you know, 5 kids to worry about and all this
I'd be
stuff, like,
bored.
I'd be sitting around like just thinking about the show like all day, which I'm thinking about it a lot anyways, but I
Right.
think I'd drive myself crazy, you know. And I do see that. I've seen younger girls sort of like go a little bit bonkers because in all their spare time they're on social media comparing other people, looking at past shows. It's like, just you know, busy yourself with something else, which is
Clean.
kind of what moms do. Yes. Come over to my house and help me with some laundry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's really interesting. So you have what looks like a very happy and healthy marriage. You talk about your husband all the
Yeah.
time, and he's crazy about you as well. So I sense that there is a really good relationship, good, healthy communication. So I think
We're
even in the
growing.
last
We're
post-
growing.
in the last post, you said that he was like the best show hubby ever.
He's
so
my
what
show
is-
daddy.
Yeah. So what has his support meant to you on all of your preps and show days?
His support is amazing. He also kind of got into the lifestyle fitness. He saw my first year, and into my second year, he was like, "Man, I gotta shit or get off the pot. Like, I need to keep up with this woman." There's about a 6-year age difference. I am a little older, so he's like, if I don't take care of myself, like, what are we gonna do? So he stepped up, and he started the whole gym thing, and he signed up with my team Flawless and did the whole lifestyle, and now he's doing it on his own. He's kicking ass with it. And the first couple years was difficult to travel with me. He came to a couple of the local shows, but again, with the girls, you know, if we don't have somebody to watch them here, we both can't go. And we have to make those arrangements, or he stays home. So my first couple years competing, he'd come to 1 or 2 shows, but he's determined, and his goal is to come to every single one of my shows and be my show daddy this year. He helps me with my tan, packing the car. He's my muscles. He took care of the girls this past weekend, and bless him. It's so hard to travel with the girls and like get ready for a show. You know, you got to creep around in the hotel room to not wake them up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I forgot my banana. I forgot my pump stuff. I forgot their shoes. I forgot my shoes.
It's a lot to think about kids on show day.
He's great. And he's super supportive, and he's very, very proud. He brags and boasts to anybody and everybody about what I'm doing and how much he appreciates everything that I do for the girls and myself and him.
That's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I like that he's your show daddy. It's so cute. I
It
know.
is. I love it. He loves it.
I have a lot of help from my husband too. One of the biggest things, like he supports everything I do. We've been together for almost 10 years, but he cooks my chicken. That's probably my biggest. Yeah, I know, right? Right? So we got a smoker a couple years back, and
Oh,
he'll take like 12 chicken breasts and smoke them.
and get them ready. Ah, see, I prep all my hubby's food. I work from home, so I'll have all his food prep. So I get
Yeah.
all his food prep, and then he takes care of me on show day and show week. Show week, he steps up to game on.
Yeah.
I'm like, baby, it's time to be show daddy. He's like, I got you. I got you.
That's so great to like alleviate that stress on that
It
last
is.
week
It
because
is.
there's so much that week and oftentimes you feel better, but it's still like, you're counting down the days and getting
Yeah.
those last workouts in,
Get
trying to
antsy.
remember, like, oh, I wouldn't
Yeah.
forget this and whatnot.
Well,
and
and
when
everything.
When you forget stuff, it's so helpful to have that extra pair of hands. Like I love when Aaron comes with me because of that. Because there's so many times I'm like, oh, I forgot tablespoons or I forgot this, and he's
Yeah.
like, I'll go to the store. But like he tries to go to every single show, and it is so helpful.
It's so helpful.
I try to say, I'm like, you don't have to, like, it's okay, stay home with Carson. And he's like, it's so cute because now he's like, well, what if you forget something? I'm like, I can go
Aw.
get it. I promise I can. And he's like, but like, I gotta get it for you. I'm like, oh my gosh. So
It'll be
but it's-
9:30 at night, baby. Coach said I need fries, and he'll go get me Arby's or Checkers fries, and I'm like, this is nice. But then I also don't know what to do with myself while I wait for him.
Yeah.
There's no kids. I don't have anything to do. But
Yeah.
it's nice though. It is nice.
It is nice. My husband, he just knows I don't want to be alone, but I don't want a lot of chaos and commotion. So like he's there but quiet, not asking me a million questions. How you feeling? He'll take off and go sightsee. Like he'll like go do a little like food tour of Pittsburgh, like when we were at Masters Nationals, and he's like, "Do you want a photo or not?" I'm like, "No, but we're gonna go there on Sunday when I can actually eat." So
And
that's
enjoy,
supportive.
yeah.
So yeah, I think even if your partner just knows what you need is very helpful, and that might be a lot. It might be just be there. Like that's
Yeah.
and not on show day like, "Oh, when are you going on stage and what's going on?" Like I don't need a million
No.
questions, and that's very helpful
He's
too.
just
Somebody who
there.
understands. Yeah, that's awesome.
Drive me there and wait around.
Especially,
And
especially if you know they're having fun. I know I did a show in Las Vegas one time, and Carson and Aaron, that Carson's my son, they came with me, and during my whole like show day until finals, they like went down the strip, they did a bunch of fun things, and just knowing like they were having fun on a day that really was like all about me, it made me feel good. Like that, I'm on stage doing my thing, and they're swimming at whatever pool and at the M&M factory, and it's like a good time. So
it's
is
a
nice.
bonding moment for them. It's good. Yeah.
So what do your girls think about the shows and the bling and all the glitz and glam of it all?
The Veda, the 5-year-old, she is so cute. She will try to hit my poses, and she really doesn't know what's going on when our nanny will put the live stream on. She thinks I'm on TV. She literally thinks like mommy's like on the TV show, and she loves it. She was hooting and hollering. I heard her over everybody at the last show in Clash this weekend. Mama, mommy, mommy. The 14-year-old, she enjoys bragging. She's 14. Teenage years are difficult.
Yep.
One
We know.
moment she's in
We're
love
all
with
like,
it.
yeah.
One moment she's in love with it, and the next she's like, "Mom, can you not be in a bathing suit? Can you put some clothes on?" And I'm like, I'm posing, babe. Can you give me a minute? Like, thanks." But she's always loved it. She loves that I come home with new bling, with my tiaras. That was also a goal. I need to get a tiara. I want a tiara. And then the little teddy bear that they gave at Girl Power, my 5-year-old wants to take it. But yeah, they both enjoy it. I enjoy, and I'm hopeful that they see it in a different light later in life too. With the food, the nutrition, it's okay to be strong. It's okay to have muscles. You got to work for it though. Like you can't just wake up and be here.
Yeah. So do you have like a way that you talk about nutrition in your home, like with your family? I think that's something with girls because I have three daughters, and so, we're going through puberty and there's body changes happening, and so I think like the language is really important, and like I'm sometimes eating different things than my daughters are, and just I think it's a bit delicate. So kind of how do you approach that topic with your family?
It is delicate. I find it most difficult with Kendall, the oldest. She's a very picky eater. And of course, in the teen years, they don't really listen to mom anymore. So I try to have like an aunt or the doctor or a grandma or somebody else she may look up to kind of give her some insight. Hey, it'd be good if you added some vegetables to your diet, or maybe you should drink more water, or like you see how food fuels my body. Like you visually can see it, and you know what it takes and how I can get here, and it's all by food. Food is 90% of what we do. The gym to me is just, that part's easy. It's just prepping all the food. We let her, protein and how important that is. She's not really hearing it right now, but again, maybe one day she has her times when she gets into the mood of, okay, I want to eat like my mom. I want to eat like my mom. And then it stops. Veda, she's too young. She's too young. She's too young to understand what food is. She just wants ice cream and candy and everything she shouldn't have.
I feel like boys are relatively similar. Like with that, like my son, right now he'll be 15 here in August. And the one thing that I absolutely am so grateful for is I started doing this when he was 4. I took him to my shows. He watched me in bikinis, like posing, all that stuff. He watched, food, the gym. He has such a respect for women. Like the way, as he kind of went through, going through puberty, and a lot of his friends, that year 12, they're like, ooh, cheerleaders, ooh, girls in shorts, ooh, like all this stuff. He's like, this has been my life for like ever. What is like, it's just the respect for women that like I've really loved, because I always had some moms that are like, why would you look like that? Because I always wear crop tops and stuff like that. Like, why would you look like that in front of your kids? It's like,
why not?
No, why not? Yeah, why not?
Why not?
But back to the food, my son's the same. He'll come in my office sometimes and be like, how do I, eat better and bulk up? And I'm like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then the next day he'll be like, I don't feel like eating today. Like,
Yep.
Okay.
Take me to Chick-fil-A.
Yep. Kendall will she'll get her protein mix and make protein pancakes 3-4 days and then stop.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
I want
how'd you
them to
feel
have
when
that
you were
balance.
eating that? How did you feel when you were eating that? Oh, I felt really good midday. Okay, well, let's do it again. If you felt good, do it again.
Yeah, focusing on that I think is huge. Like how you feel, and you had more energy, and you didn't have a tummy ache. Like I think those things are so important.
Right.
People are always surprised that with the way I eat, that my kids eat all like normal food, I guess. But I think if anything, I just want them to have balance, and I want it to feel like a choice, not like I grew up and we had just lots of diet food and there was no treats, and I would go to friends' houses and just gorge myself on all these things that I couldn't have. And so I want them to know there is a lot of healthy food, but there's also treats, and it's a balance. And but I think it's
That's
just
my
it's
motto.
delicate with us as competitors and our bodies. We're so lean, and we have to get to a certain level of body fat. So sometimes I think each person just has to approach that differently as to how they talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, and kids are always different too. Some kids are more sensitive than others. Some kids, girls and boys are different too. Because I can be real hard with my son, and be not as careful with my words. But I know plenty.
I can't with Kendall.
Exactly. I know
Can't
so
with
many
Kendall.
girls that can't.
I can't with my 5-year-old. Not with my 14-year-old.
Yeah. So, well, one question we always like to ask all of our guests is, what is your number one tip for success as far as getting it all in as a wife, as a mom, having a career, and then being a pro athlete? If you have one tip for anybody that is kind of struggling to figure out how to get it all done.
My one tip, I will go to my recent post and I just mentioned it. And I think balance, balance in everything you do. You don't have to put all your worth into fitness. You don't have to put all your worth into nutrition. You need to make sure that you step outside that bubble for a little bit and explore outside of that. Go have that Dairy Queen with your kids or go take that trip to Tulum because you might not get that anymore. Enjoy the structure of bodybuilding, but then don't forget it's okay to take that break and to step away from the stage. It doesn't have to be for 9 months. It doesn't have to be for a year. Take however long. Take that break and balance your life and everything with work, with playing, with traveling, all of it. My husband and I are yin and yang to each other. If he's going hard in the paint, I'm like, all right, it's time to chill for a little bit. And vice versa. If I'm going hard, he's like, all right, baby, it's time to slow back down. It's just balance.
I like that. I think what you're saying too is that
Too.
like you identify definitely as like a pro athlete, but that's not all that you are. Like you have these other passions and these other things that keep you, well rounded. I think that's
Yeah.
like a great takeaway. And if someone's listening and they don't have kids yet and they're like all in and they're literally just giving it all they have, like it's okay to like have other things that you're
Take a
passionate
step
about.
back.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't be successful because look at the success that you have had. And, if anything, I think it enriches your experience because, you've got this other life that you look forward to outside
Absolutely.
of the stage. I think that's really important. Yeah. So tell us, obviously, you're prepping for is it the Miami Beach? What's it? Miami Pro.
MI Miami International Fitness Expo.
That's right. It's a big expo. That's June 1st.
I hear it's huge.
I heard
Expos
that.
are just so much
I
fun.
hear it's massive. So I'm a little nervous, but excited.
It's
You're
going to
gonna
be
do
awesome.
so good. Yeah.
So what happens after that? I know that you had mentioned that you have your sights set on that Masters Olympia whenever they announce that it is. So what are your like ultimate goals with the sport?
The coach and I, Steve and I, we're kind of seeing what happens in Miami. But I have also mentioned to him about doing Sandy's show June 22nd. It's her first time. I think she's calling it Worlds is maybe what it's called. I can't be for sure. It's in Chattanooga. And I kind of mentioned that one to him to see how he felt. And he's like, that could be a good one. But I don't really know 100% after Miami what's happening. The husband told me to keep knocking out shows, which is cool. I think he just wants to travel. But we're gonna see what happens this weekend. There's a couple more shows here in the area. The Charleston show, it's a class show in August. And then of course we have Battles of the Body in Fort Lauderdale, which I'm kind of interested in doing that one. It looks fun.
That's Janet's show, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
And then Daytona is right here. It's hard not to do that show. It's literally in my backyard. It's closer than Orlando. But we'll see. No. I mean, this will be show 4 in 4 months. I've been doing a show once a month since March. I'm not burned out or anything. I still feel really, really, really good. So I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
Awesome.
We'll have to follow you on Instagram for all of the shows you may
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And then of course, what is your Instagram so our listeners can be able to follow you as well?
It is Fearlessly Fit Fallon.
I love it. I have to know, how did you get your name? Where does it come from?
Fallon? It came from my mom used to watch a soap opera called Dynasty back in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's it. I knew it. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
man. I kept mixing it up with, oh gosh, I can't think of it now. And like another popular, like kind of 80s name. Cause I'm in my 40s also. So, and I was like, man, I know I've heard that name before. I just can't remember where it was from. Oh, that's cool.
I guess my
It's a cool
mom
name.
used to talk about it, and my dad was like, ooh, Fallon. I like that name, and here I am.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it.
I love my name.
Yeah,
It's very unique. I love it.
it is.
Awesome. Well, we cannot wait to continue to watch your journey this season.
Thank you.
And it was so amazing having you on today. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We're totally inspired, and it was great to learn about, all of your successes and just how you get it done. So
Thank you guys
so
for
much.
having me. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. And all your information will be posted in the show notes for all you listeners, so that way you can follow Fallon as well. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.